We are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC Abu Dhabi. Real quick, I just got to do something real quick. All right. So we're going to be breaking down UFC Abu Dhabi today. It's a pretty fire card. I'm looking forward to it. But before we do that, we're going to recap last week. We always recap even when we lose, but this time we got good stuff to talk about because we did not lose. We did very well. So let's go and talk about that real quick. Won't spend a ton of time on it, and then we can jump into the card. All right. So this past weekend, we had UFC 318, and we did well. We profited at 8.66 units after our lotto parlays that lost. We lost a half unit on the lottos. So total profit on the night was 8.16 units for me. That's $800. So that's pretty nice. It was especially depressing because for the lotto, I had Veretennikov decision. By the way, I'm not necessarily convinced he won, but I'll take it. Costa decision, Max decision. All of those hit. And for some reason that I can't even explain to you right now, I put Kevin Holland on there. I didn't bet him. I said all week that this line is stupid, that people are acting crazy all of a sudden with Holland, that he's being overhyped. I said it all week long, and then I put him on the lotto, and he's the leg that cost us the lotto. If not for that, would have been a monster night. Either way, it was a really good night, but still annoying. But excuse me. But we hit Paulo Costa money line plus 185. For 1 unit. We lost on Kyler Phillips plus 145 for 1 unit. Probably not the best bet there. His cardio really is a problem. Veretennikov plus 122. We hit for a unit. Not the best bet I ever made, but it was a close fight. Robert Valentin, we lost a half unit there. So we profited 1.57 units on the money lines. Then we hit the fight goes the distance for a unit on Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. By the way, Max is a legend. I love the dude so much. Hence all that stuff back there. We had Judy's TKO or KO round 2, and then we also had Judy's KO TKO round 3. So that smacked. It was a quarter unit to win 5.25. So a total of 5 units profit just on that fight. Then we lost a quarter units on Kyler sub. We lost half a unit on Brzeski round 3 decision. Ryan Spann. I always knew that there was a very high chance that Spann finished him in the first. I just felt that if he didn't, Brzeski would win. And I'm not really convinced that otherwise after that fight because Spann finished him in the first round. After that, we had the parlay with totals. We had the Vittori Allen over 2.5, parlayed with the Costa Kopylov over 2.5. 2 solid bets, I would say, came out to minus 107, 1.1 units there, stake to win 1 unit, just a little over. And then we had another parlay with Kroot money line, Judice money line. That was minus 146, played that to win 1 unit. And then we just had 2 props that lost. I had Costa round 3 TKO plus 2,500 for 0.1 unit. And I had Valentin KO TKO round 2 for 0.1 unit. So just over an 8 unit night. Hopefully we can keep it going. I feel like in past years, I've been really, really good at fight nights, regionals, but pay-per-views, I would just get dusted. This year, it's kind of the opposite. I haven't had the best time with fight nights, haven't had the best time with regionals, but the pay-per-views have been great. So this isn't a pay-per-view, but hopefully we can turn it around. And yeah, let's pull up the fights and let's get right into it. So give me a second. Oh, I'm also going to catch up with the chat, of course. Love you guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. As always, you are very much appreciated on this channel. There we go. All right, let's see what we got. We got my guy Steven Picks. First one in the chat. Like and subscribe, everyone. Appreciate you, Steven. You are the man. Be like Steven. Local Man Shakes Fists, one of the best names in the community. What's up, brother? McMuffin, what's good? Good to see you. Glenbot, sub as well. And then there's me in the chat. We got Jammer in here. What's up, Jammer? I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. I'll see Buday going to get snapped in half. We'll talk about it in a second. But if you know me, you know I do not like Marcin Buday. You did say that, I told you about. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You were definitely right about Oliveira. Look, I knew Oliveira is legit. I just thought that maybe Kyler would be too much, but Oliveira got it done. So that was a good call. And yeah, I can't believe I did that to myself with Holland. It's always so disappointing when you don't follow your own advice and it costs you, and you're just like, come on, bro. Drinking no things. Thank you, brother. Hopefully we can both have a good week this weekend. Got to talk about the new lines for I'm down. I'm down if you guys are interested. Let me pull it up while I catch up with everybody. What's up, Jackson? My guy. Jackson Kleinband's in the building. Okay. What's good, Daz? My brother. All right. So real quick, we had the request here. Got to talk about the new lines for 320 and 321. Let's see what we got. All right. So for 320, I'm seeing Pereira plus 160, Mago minus 185. So I max bet Mago in their first fight when he was plus money. So that meant I felt like he was probably around what, like, I don't remember. I have to check my notes. I think I thought he was like 70, 80%. So after watching that fight, I probably adjusted a little bit because he couldn't take Pereira down. But I feel like this line makes sense. I don't see a bet that's popping off to me there. I don't really want to bet Pereira, but I don't know that I want to lay the chalk on Ankalaev. Merab minus 350. No surprises there. I think he gets it done. Jiri minus 190. He opened minus 110. I wish I was paying attention and on Bet Online. Unfortunately, I was driving, but that would have been nice. I would have played that. Minus 190. Look, I'm kind of low on Leal in general. Maybe lower than I should be. Not that I don't like him. I like the guy, but I'm kind of low on him. He's on the older side. I think he's not the greatest light heavyweight. So I think Jiri wins it, but I don't know how I feel about minus 190. And then I don't see 321 on here, but let me pull up Bet Online. I bet they have it there. They do. Okay, so that's Cyril Gone, Aspinall. I'm not surprised by this line. Aspinall minus 360. That comes out to what? I need to really get these odds down by memory. I always need an odds converter. Minus 360, 70. That makes sense to me. I feel like Aspinall is going to cook Gone. But I'm also really high on Aspinall, so could be biased. But all right, those are the future lines there. Poetan versus Mago was basically a pick on. I think Mago was a slight dog. Yeah, he was a slight dog in the first one. I bet him at various lines. I think I got some money down at plus money. I got some money down on when he was like minus 105, something like that. I think this is probably an accurate correction, I think. But I'd have to look into it, rewatch the last fight. I feel like I have a pretty good memory of the last fight, but still got to rewatch. I feel like Julio is way too wide. He looked better against Alex and better against Hill. Better against Alex, sure. I'll admit that, but it's like also styles make fights. Better against Hill, I don't know that I agree with that, but I was also slightly drunk when the Hill-Khalil fight happened, so could be bad memory. But all right, guys, let's jump into this card. We got 40 of you watching now, and actually we got more people on YouTube than Twitter, so I appreciate that. And we got Martin Buday versus Marcus Buchecha. Buchecha making his UFC debut, coming from ONE FC. He's had a pretty solid career there. He's not super experienced in MMA at 5-1-0, but he is a really, really high-level jiu-jitsu guy. So Martin Buday, 15-2-0. He's 33. He's 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. Buchecha, he's 5'1-0. Going to be 35, so he's 2 years older. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So I'm just not high on Buday. I never have been. I still am not. He's a competent heavyweight because heavyweight is so poor in skill. But, like, come on. First of all, he lost to Brzeski. He 100% lost to Brzeski. I know I had a bet on Brzeski there, but he lost him. I think most of us can agree that he lost to him. And that's not a good look. It's not. He wins these decisions against Collier, subs Parisian, whatever. Gaziev knocks him out. Okay, Gaziev and Buchecha are very different. The Arlovsky split was a terrible look. The Sapolaev, I bet Sapolaev there. He was on short notice, up a weight class. He's not a heavyweight. And he still hurt Martin Buday on the feet. He still had his moments. It was a relatively close fight. It's not like Buday just ran away with it. And then at the end of the day, he's just a clinch merchant. It hasn't changed. He's still a clinch merchant. He clinches guys when he's at his best. He's much bigger, much more physical, and he's able to clinch the guys up. And that's really all he does. He's not a grappler. I don't know where that narrative ever came from. He's not really taking people down. Maybe on the regionals occasionally, but in the UFC, he hasn't done it at all. And how long's he been here now? He's not really grappling offensively. His takedown defense hasn't really been tested. And then, like, in terms of like the jiu-jitsu department, I know he's like, I think he's like a brown belt. Maybe he's a black belt, but I'm pretty sure he's not. But it's not even going to be comparable here. And him subbing Josh Parisian means absolutely nothing to me. At range, he's nothing special whatsoever. He doesn't carry a ton of power. I'm just not high on the guy at all. And then with Buchecha, I do have my concerns with him as well. You know, I don't love the minus 300 price tag on him. I'm pretty sure I bet Rug against him. My guy over here, Umar Kane, an absolute that dude's a meme. He's not the best fighter. He's just incredibly athletic and beat Anatoly Malakian, by the way, which is a crazy win for him. But anyways, like, I haven't always been super high on him because he's a pure jiu-jitsu guy who came to MMA pretty late. He's 35 years old. He's elite when it hits the ground, but his wrestling's pretty good, but it's not amazing. And his striking's not that good. And he's pretty hittable. But you know, I don't really think that Buday is a great striker either. Like I said, I don't think Buday carries power. So I don't necessarily give Buday a crazy edge at range. Do I think Buday is going to easily clinch up Buchecha? I don't. Maybe he probably has the better cardio. I've seen Buchecha slow down when he did go the distance with Umar Kane, but that was the first time he ever had to do it, I'm pretty sure. And, you know, that'll happen your first time going the distance when you're just running through everybody else. So maybe slight cardio advantage for Buday, but it's not like he's pushing a crazy pace. So realistically, I just think Buchecha is going to sub him. I know that it's maybe square. It's very obvious, and oftentimes those things don't work out, but sometimes they do. Sometimes the obvious thing is the answer, and personally, I think the obvious thing is the answer here. I don't have any bet yet. I don't know that I will because the line is really intense for a UFC debutant, but I'm not high on Buday at all, and I do think Buchecha is going to get it done. I lean towards it being early because, like I said, I'm not sold on his cardio, but I do think his cardio is okay. Like, he did still make it the distance against Rug, and I don't think it's even going to matter. I think he's going to take down Buday, and I think he's going to sub him. Buday hasn't been tested there at all, really, in the UFC, and I think that's about to happen here. All right, we got that. Let me catch up with the chat, and then we'll go on. Oh, we got Luke in here. What's good, Luke? Make sure you guys are checking him out. He's super sharp and a really great guy. Buchecha 5-1 against Rodolfo Vieira in grappling matches. Yeah, he's elite. I don't know his grappling record by heart like that. I know Luke is into grappling, so he would know better than me. But I do know that he's very, very, very legit on the ground. Meatball, what's up, Meatball? Oh, yeah, Barriault offers more resistance to takedowns than Buday, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that Buday is really tested at all in the defensive grappling department. Greco doesn't translate best to MMA, but yeah. Local man shakes fists, pushing back a little bit to Meatball. Let's see. We got Glenbot saying Marcus decision and go the distance might be interesting. What's the price there? Let's see. He's minus 300 on the money line. Fight goes is plus 195. Buchecha decision plus 450. Yeah. I mean, it can happen. It can definitely happen. But like I said, I kind of just think he's going to sub him. Like, Buday hasn't been tested there enough for me to be like, okay, if this does hit the ground, maybe Buchecha doesn't submit him. You know, like maybe if he was like a really legit brown belt or like a black belt, then I would maybe think about it. But I think if Buchecha gets his game going, he's going to sub him. You see people saying Buchecha sub or bust. Yeah, I don't think he's sub or bust. I think he could win the decision. It's not like Buday pulls away. He went to a split with Andrei Arlovsky when he was, what, 44, 43, 45, something like that. Luke hitting us with the records here. 70 via sub. Dude's an animal. But all right, we can move on. Next up, we got Mohammad Yahya versus Stephen Nguyen. No, Stephen Nguyen. That's how you say it. Yahya, 12-5-0. He's 31 years old, 5'9" with a 73-inch reach. Nguyen, he's 9-2-0. He's 32, so he's 1 year older. Actually, almost exactly 1 year older. He's 2 inches taller, and he's going to have the same reach. So, full transparency, I haven't taped all the fights on this card yet. This is one of them. I do have to look into it, but I'm not going to lie. Stephen Nguyen is never minus 300 for me. I mean, just really never. I am not super high on his game. He's a good striker. He can throw a lot of output. I think he's pretty hittable, though. I think that he could possibly get out grappled. Not here. I don't really see Yahya as a grappler. I'm just saying in general. But in this particular matchup, just going off memory, I know that Yahya hasn't had the best career in the UFC. He lost to Peak in what was kind of a beatdown, and he was on home territory there. And then he lost to Cal Fernandez. That's his name, right? Got the last name right? Yeah. The guy who just beat Guram. So, like, in hindsight, is that terrible of a loss? It's not, but the way it happened is kind of terrible. Like, you don't want to get leg kick TKO'd. That's not a good look. And he really isn't that great. He isn't. I saw that in his regional tape when I was taping him for Trevor Peak and when I was taping him for Fernandez. He's not that good. But I mean, if there's ever a time to play him, this might be one of them. I mean, Stephen Nguyen, it took him, if I'm not mistaken, it took him 3 times on the Dana White's Contender Series to get on the show. I don't remember who he fought the first time. The second time he fought that guy, I think he was forget his name, but he was very small and just not good at all. And then he had the fight against AJ Cunningham, and Cunningham's tough, but he's not good. Just not the best win. And then he lost to my guy, Jarno. I don't think he's in the UFC anymore, which sucks, but he's a good striker. But my point is, his wins aren't that good. I don't feel like his wins are that much better than Yahya. And Yahya's a serviceable fighter. Like, he's a decent enough striker. He's not really much of a grappler, but he's relatively competent. I got to tape him more, but it's clearly dog or pass for me. I have zero interest on doing anything with Stephen Nguyen. I will pick him to win for now. That might change once I tape. I'll go with decision, but I got to tape it. Yahya. Oh, I have a bug on my computer. Yahya, Stephen, over 1.5 minus 200 seems better than Stephen. Yeah, I mean, it seems better, but I would rather not play that either, because I guess it's possible Stephen knocks him out early, you know, and laying minus 200 on that seems a little unnecessary. All right, next up, we got Ibo Aslan versus Billy Elekana. Ibo is 14-2-0. He's 29 years old, 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. Elekana on the other side, he's 7-2-0. He's 30. He's 1 year older. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's going to have about the same reach. So for this matchup, I mean, I've never been super high on Elekana. I faded him in the PFL with Chuck Campbell, who's like an older guy who isn't the most active fighter in terms of like volume. Doesn't really do a ton. And I think he arguably beat Elekana there. I had a bet on him, so I'm biased, but I thought he did. Elekana's serviceable. You know, he's not a bad fighter per se. And at light heavyweight, he'll probably get some wins. You know, he's big. He's got the frame for it, but he's super hittable. His striking's kind of stiff. His grappling's decent enough. It's not bad. You know, he was able to take down Guskov, had his back. Won that first round, and he was on short notice, but then he gassed really hard. I will say, like, don't be too hard on him after that performance in terms of gas tank. Like, he has gone the distance. He has won third rounds before. He's not always just gassing out, but that was a horrible look. It was on short notice, you know? So you got to give him something there. But he's a decent enough grappler. He has some grappling in his toolbox, but I don't really like the matchup against Ibo. I know that Ibo just got subbed by Gutalaba. Called it. I had the round 1 sub there. That felt good, especially with the amount of round props that I lose. It was nice to hit one, so that was good. But you know, that was more based on the fact that the number was crazy, plus 2,100, and Kutelaba is round 1 heavy, and I did feel like he was working on his grappling, and he's always been a big wrestler. I thought he was working on his jiu-jitsu too. And Ibo, you know, just was untested there. He was very untested. But he's 29 years old, and I'm not convinced that just because Kutelaba was able to do it, that Elekana is going to do it. Now, do I like the money line enough to play Ibo? Not even close. I have zero interest. Not going to parlay him. Nothing like that. Definitely not putting him in the lotto. At least not money line. We'll see what I can come up with once the domestics come out with props. But I do think he's a much better striker. I do think he hits a lot harder. I think that Elekana's defense is kind of the main problem here. You know, if he kept his chin tucked and was a little bit less stiff, then maybe I'd have some interest because, you know, Ibo, his takedown defense for the most part against guys who maybe aren't the best, like Anton Turkali, it holds up. It holds up. And the cardio is not bad either. His cardio holds up. He got that finish in round 3 against Turkali. Takedown defense held up there. You know, the ground game does seem to be a lot better than when he lost to Turkali the first time they fought. But again, he got subbed by Cutelaba. I just don't know that Billy and Cutelaba are that comparable. So I think he's going to be okay in the grappling here. That's a concern. Again, that's why I wouldn't play him at chalk. But realistically, I think he's going to stuff the takedowns, and I think he's going to knock out Elekana. That's what I think. Maybe a decision prop if they give us something crazy. You guys know I like my decision props. I just feel more comfortable playing those than I do with other specific props. Why are we? Hold on. I want to check. Did they do some moving around on the card? Yeah, they did. Okay. I was just confused about the bout order. But let me see what BetOnline has for those numbers. So Fight Goes is plus 300. That's cheeky. Aslan by decision is plus 600. I don't hate that. I think he's going to knock him out, but I don't hate that. What's the KO? No shot. Minus 170. Yeah, I think he knocks him out. Maybe like round 2. Could happen in round 1. All right, moving on. We got Amanda Ribas versus Tabatha Ricci. Ribas, she's 12-6-0. She's 31 years old, 5'3" with a 66-inch reach. On the other side with Ricci, she's 11-3-0, going to be 30, so she's 1 year younger. She's going to be 2 inches shorter, though, and she's going to have a 5-inch reach disadvantage. Has a tremendously short reach. Excuse me. And yeah, I think Ribas is going to get it done. I need to look into this one more. I briefly taped it, but not fully. I didn't like really go into depth and really look at the things I would want to look at. But like, for example, I need to remember a little bit more what Ribas's takedown defense looks like. But it's solid. From what I remember, from what I saw in the little bit that I did tape, her takedown defense is solid. And Tabatha Ricci, I'm not sold on this narrative that she fell in love with her hands. You know, everybody's talking about it this week. Like, oh, her boyfriend's a boxer, so now she fell in love with her hands and she doesn't do what she should. Okay, maybe. They're only saying that because of the Yan Jianan fight, but maybe. But, like, also, Yan Jianan has really tricky movement. And just because Verna was able to go and take her down doesn't mean that Ricci can. Again, different fighters, different builds, different styles. Both grapplers, but different styles. So with Ricci, I don't. Yeah, she could have shot more. Like, it was bad game planning, but I'm also not convinced that it was fully because she fell in love with her hands. I also think partially it was the footwork of Yan Jianan that gave her problems. And Amanda Ribas, she's got some movement, but she doesn't have that kind of footwork where she's moving laterally, landing her shots on the outside and staying safe. She's not exactly like that. So I do think Ricci will shoot here. I do think Ricci will have some success in the striking. I mean, Ribas also, she'll keep her chin up high. She's pretty hittable. She doesn't have the best defense, and while she will have a tremendous reach advantage here, not tremendous, a sizable reach advantage of 5 inches, she's not the best at maintaining range. She does it decently enough. When she does strike long, she does do it straight down the pipe. It's nice, it's clean. She doesn't overextend. She does it just right, and she's relatively fast, but I don't really see her as somebody who really maintains the different distance. So what I'm saying is I do think Ricci can land some takedowns or shoot at least. And I think that Ricci could have some success on the feet. But ultimately, I think Ribas is going to throw more volume. I think Ribas does have the advantage at striking at range. And if she does use any semblance of footwork, she could work Ricci a bit at distance. And in the grappling, Ricci's a really good grappler, but so is Ribas. I would not count Ribas out for getting her own takedowns, maybe some trips, maybe off the fence. And I don't think she's going to submit Ricci, but I think they're going to be evenly matched in the jiu-jitsu. I think we're going to see a lot of scrambling. I just think Ribas has a better pace, better just output, just better work rate overall. So I lean her way. Not really enough that I want to lay minus 185. I do kind of wish I got involved earlier, but again, I need to tape more, and thank God I've gotten out of the habit of betting pre-tape. So I used to do it because I wanted to snipe lines, but started losing money. So now I make sure I tape first. But I will go Ribas decision. All right, next up we got Damon Blackshear versus Davey Grant. Blackshear 17-7-1, 30 years old. He's 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. On the other side, we've got Davey Grant. He's 14-7-0. He's 39, so he's 9 years older. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. I can't really get to this price with Blackshear. I do think he wins. I do think he has a pretty significant wrestling advantage. I don't think he has a super significant jiu-jitsu advantage because Davey Grant actually is a pretty slick grappler in his own right. He's not a guy who will go out there, get takedowns, take the back kind of thing, like Blackshear could. But he's tricky. You know, I mean, I'm about to talk about a Sun Sao fight in that Grant got taken down a million times, but he also took down a pretty legit black belt there with not took down, submitted with a, what was it, like a reverse triangle or something? It was something crazy. And I had Davey Grant there, pretty much ripped my ticket up. And then that happened, and I was like, thank God, that was good. But my point is that his jiu-jitsu is pretty good in his own right. It's just not like an offensive thing. He's not like coming out, getting takedowns, and then going forward. It's more of a thing that just happens in his exchanges, in his scrambles, or off of like a club and sub. On the feet, though, you know, Blackshear's cleaner down the pipe. Like when he throws straight, he's nice. He's got a good jab. He's long. He's rangy. Good 1-2. He has good kicks. Solid combinations. Not the best output on the feet, but also not the worst. He landed what, like 100 something against Alateng Lee last time out. Yeah. So in that fight, you know, it was kind of problematic that he didn't grapple all that much, but maybe he just felt comfortable. And for the most part, he does normally grapple. So I do think you're okay if, like, for example, you already bet Blackshear, you already parlayed him or something. Like, he's probably going to win. I think he's going to take down Davey Grant. I think Davey Grant hasn't really fought a pure grappler in a pretty long time. Like Tavares, striker, Marcos, striker, a Sun Sao grappler, and he was losing. Smoka, I just never thought was that good. And then Yanez, striker. So Yanez is a while ago. Like, he's not the most active because he has his own thing going on in real life. I think he has like a restaurant. He's very successful. So he's not super active, but he loves fighting. So he comes and does it. But he hasn't fought a grappler like this in a while. So I do think he's going to get taken down. I do think he's going to get controlled. I think there's a possibility that he gets submitted. I'm seeing that my Wi-Fi is showing a bad connection. So please in the chat, let me know if I'm good or if I'm frozen. I hate talking when I'm frozen. It sucks. But yeah, I think Blackshear probably wins. But if he can't get it down, or if he's not going for it, Davey's going to be competitive on the feet. Davey's a good striker. Davey throws a lot of output. Davey's super unorthodox with his striking, so it's very hard to understand where his strikes are coming from. He's not going to stand there, throw jabs and 1-2s. He'll go jab, jab, and then he'll just throw something from the hip, you know? Or he'll just go hip, 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 and just throw from downstairs. He'll literally just load up and go. He's a little bit sloppy, but it's super unorthodox. It works for him. Thank you, guys. I see that you're saying the sound's good and we're not frozen, so that's good. And yeah, Davey, I think he can hurt Damon. I think in general, Blackshear's chin is good, but I think that Davey could hurt him. He could knock him out. He could land a lot of damage. If they're standing, my point is it's going to be a competitive fight. Blackshear is the rightful favorite because of the grappling upside, but I couldn't get to this money line. It would be a dog or pass. We can take a look at the odds for like props real quick. So over 2.5 is -150. Like, I lean that way, but I don't know that I want to lay chalk on that. You know, Davey is older. Davey has, like, he has his own stuff going on. He's probably not training every single day. And Damon's legit. I've been high on the guy for a long time. Blackshear decision +190, sub +200. Yeah, nothing I love too much there. Okay, I don't think we'll spend a ton of time here. Next up, we got Muslim Salikhov versus Carlos Leal. Salikhov, 21-5-0. He's 41 years old. 5'11" with a 70-inch reach. On the other side, Leal, he's 22-6-0, 31. So he's 10 years younger. He's going to be the same height, though, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. So he's got a short UFC stint so far. Had the Renault fight, which he won, and I'm not going to accept anything else there, but he got robbed. And then the Morono fight where he knocked out Morono. I think he was like -800 there. And Salikhov's on his own good streak, you know, knocked out Sankanon, had the Ponzi split, the Randy Brown knockout. I mean, obviously not the best. I mean, not a terrible look, but not great for him either. He got knocked out by Randy Brown like in the first round, and that's not good for you. But for this fight, I like Leal. The price is a little crazy, but I can't really game out in my head what a Salikhov win looks like. I don't think he knocks him out. I think that's a really, really low probability outcome. I don't think a sub is happening. And is he a good enough minute winner to beat Leal? I don't think so. So I think Leal's a pretty safe play. Is there a ton you can do with what is it? -500? I mean, I wouldn't lay 5 units on him to win one. Maybe a parlay leg if you need one. I don't hate it. But I do think he's going to win. I think he's going to win ITD. Let's see what the prices are. So fight ends ITDs minus 220. Yeah, a little too much for me. I do think he finishes, but it's just a little too much for me. Let's see. Leal ITD. For some reason, it doesn't list the Leal props on fight odds. I know they do exist. I remember seeing Leal minus 120 on the KO, I think, on Bet Online. And then I don't remember what the ITD was, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say it was probably something like minus 200, minus 150, or like minus 175. But I think Leal's going to get him out of there. Leal round one. Let's pull up Bet Online. What is this guessing game? Let's look. Okay. Here we go. All right. Leal KO is minus 120. Sub plus 1,000. Interesting. You guys know I like my plus money. And I see Glenbot over here. He's thinking like I am. I don't like Leal points that much. I just feel like Salikhov's been durable, yes, but he's 41 years old. And how much damage is he taking? I want to see, yeah, that's what I want to see. So Leal round one knockout plus 350, round two knockout plus 425, just the round plus 335 for round two, plus 275 round one. The prices are rough to work with. They are. What's ITD? Okay, I don't hate the ITD on minus 165. I need to think about it and look at it. I probably will not play it. I'm not really in the business of playing ITD props at chalk, but this might be a spot where it's decent. We'll go KO round two. Okay, this is a fight I'm hyped to talk about. We got Bryce Mitchell versus Said Nurmagomedov. Bryce Mitchell, 17-3-0, 30 years old. He's 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. Said, 18-4-0, 33, so he's 3 years older, 2 inches shorter, and he's also got a 70-inch reach. I spent a lot of time on this fight. I was very interested in it, and I have a relatively strong take, I would say. I think Bryce Mitchell's going to get it done, and I think he's going to do it pretty dominantly, personally. So, look, I'm not a Bryce Mitchell fan. If we're talking about person, like people, just as a person, not a fan. For obvious reasons, but I put that stuff aside when it comes to betting. I'll bet on somebody I don't like. I got no problem with it if I like the price. That's what I care about, the numbers. So, you know, he's coming down to bantamweight, which is a little concerning just because it's not that I don't think he's going to make it. I was looking at his Instagram. He's going to make it. He's already super thin. That's kind of one of my concerns is I've never seen him like that. You know, I'm used to Bryce looking like a solid 145er. And he's so skinny right now. Like you pull up his Instagram, he's so thin. So just a little nervous about how it's going to affect him because normally he has good cardio. Is that going to change? Normally he has a good chin if he's not fighting Josh Emmett. Is that going to change? I don't know. I don't think so. I lean towards no, but I'm also not positive about it. You know, he's not at a major gym. He's not really, he doesn't have the American top team doctors over there to help him. So I'm a little nervous about it, but I think he's going to do it okay. And if he makes the cut, which I do think he will, and if he rehydrates well, he's going to be so much more physical than Said. He's going to be so much stronger than Said. He's used to fighters who are way stronger than him, right? Like he just fought Gene Silva. Do you guys understand how much of a strength difference there's going to be between a Gene Silva and a Said Nurmagomedov? First of all, the weight classes. Second of all, just their builds, their physicality. Like it's not the same at all. You know, a Josh Emmett, like Bryce didn't really get a feel of the physicality. He just got knocked out there, but that's a much harder hitter than Said, you know. Ilya Taporia. Like we're talking about guys who are strong, physical. Dan Ige, Edson Barbosa, all strong, physical dudes, big for 145. Maybe not all of them are big. Ige's not big, but strong, you know, definitely stronger than a bantamweight. And Said's a guy who's a bit lanky, a bit thin. He's not the strongest. He's not the most physical. And that's why a lot of the times he's getting out grappled. You know, he's not a grappler despite the last name of Nurmagomedov, despite Dana White calling him a cousin of Habib. He's certainly not his cousin. And you watch the guy and he gets taken down pretty often. And it's not just really good grapplers because there are good grapplers who took him down. Like Kakramanov took him down a ton of times. I think 5 times, got a ton of control time, was beating him until he got submitted. But he's also getting taken down by Vinny Oliveira, who is an amazing fighter, a great striker, but he's not a grappler. And if he can take him down with a double leg or a body lock inside trip, like Bryce can take him down. Douglas Silva de Andrade controlling him up against the fence for a minute. Oliveira was controlling him up against the fence for a minute. I've seen him give up a lot of clinch control against the fence. So I just have a feeling that Bryce is going to be too strong for him. I think Bryce is going to get those takedowns. And I think Bryce has the jiu-jitsu to stay safe when Saeed hits those front chokes. And outside the front chokes, I don't think he has all that much off his back. And I think he can get stuck on his back. So I think Bryce is going to be able to take him down, avoid the front choke. I know that Gene Silva got him with it, but Gene Silva is a unit. The dude is a unit. He hit him like how many times? Beat the crap out of him, and then he got the choke. Yeah, he was winning that fight though, Gene Silva. I don't see Saeed having a similar kind of thing where he's hurting Bryce. Bryce shoots and gets caught in a darce. Like I don't think that's going to happen. I know Saeed has nasty front chokes, but Bryce is a really good grappler in his own right. So I think Bryce is going to take him down, stay safe from the front choke, have the control. His ground and pound is good. He mixes in good elbows. And on the feet, it's close too, you know. Saeed, he's much more technical. He's much cleaner, smoother, right? He's got the better kicks. He likes the spinning stuff. But first of all, what do we know about guys who need their kicks to get their game going? They need space. Bryce, most of the time, is moving forward, not giving space, not giving any space. That's why even though his striking defense isn't that great, he's not giving up. He's not absorbing a lot of strikes at all. He's absorbing very little because he's moving forward and he's going for the takedowns. So I think he's going to put Saeed on his back foot early. He's going to be in his face pressuring, going to take away those kicks. And if he does, Saeed doesn't have much left. I would love for the guy to use his hands. He has good hands when he uses them, but he usually does not. Like you look at his numbers with the punches, they're very low compared to how many kicks he's throwing. You watch his fights and you see a lot of good kicks, but you just don't see a lot of punches. So if Bryce takes away the space, he takes away his primary weapon, which is the kicks. Now they're striking. Saeed's hands are probably still cleaner, but Bryce isn't far. He's a decent enough striker too in his own right. Also straight down the pipe. You don't see him throwing a lot of haymakers. You don't see him getting sloppy. He's a competent enough striker, and then it's enough to set up the takedowns. And because there's a threat of the takedown, excuse me, he can hurt you on the feet too, like he did to Barbosa. I had Barbosa there. There wasn't a planet where I thought it was possible that Bryce could actually knock him down, and he did. Because of the threat of the takedown, Edson was nervous, came upstairs, caught him off guard, and knocked him down. So I think Bryce can compete on the feet, and I think he can dominate on the ground. So I do really like him here. I like Bryce. I think he gets done by decision, but I guess I could see a finish. I don't think it's a high likelihood. And listen to my guy Dan, guys. Smash the like button. Hop on here if you're watching on Twitter. We have 513 people watching total, but only 36 on YouTube. 477 of you are on Twitter. And if you like me, if you like to support my stuff, Twitter doesn't pay me a cent. They don't give me $1. YouTube doesn't give me much either, but at least they give me something. But now that I said that, there's no ads. Not when you watch live. So actually, I won't get $1 from you anyway. But it does help with analytics if you hop on YouTube. So still hop on YouTube. Hop in there. Give me some comments. Give me some likes. It helps with the algorithm. And that gets me out there. And then that helps me with views and getting some ad dollars. But definitely listen to Dan. Smash that like button and make sure you're watching his content. Half the battle. Dan has one of the longest running shows in the business for a reason, because he's legit, because of what he does, and because his stuff is awesome. He was one of the first guys that I ever watched. One of the first guys who got me into this. He knows that. And yeah, I love his stuff. And his breakdowns with Malcolm Wellmaker are fire too. Make sure you peep those when they come out. All right, we can move on. Next up, we got the first fight of the main card. So the main card opener, we have Nikita Krylov versus Anthony Smith. Bogdan Guskov. Krylov is 30-10-0. He's 33 years old, 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. On the other side, we got Bogdan Guskov. He's going to be 17-3-0. He's 32 years old, so he's 1 year younger, and he's going to have the same height and a 1-inch reach disadvantage. I need to tape this one more, but I do know them very well. Bogdan Guskov is a brute. He's just a brute. He can still be out-grappled. That's very clear. Volkan Oezdemir out-grappled him. Elekana took him down, took his back, controlled him in the first round, and made that fight look a lot closer than it should have been on short notice, all things considered. But he is a good striker. A little wild. can get a little crazy, but his combinations are nice. He does work off the lead hand relatively well, solid enough kicks, and he does have a lot of power. He's pretty hittable, so there's concerns there, but he's a durable dude for the most part. And with Krylov, you know, he's a lot more experienced. He's been in the UFC much longer, and in general, I'm much higher on him. I've always thought that he was a dark horse of the light heavyweight division, and him getting knocked out by Dominic Reyes, that does put the dark horse thing kind of to rest, but I still think he's a really good light heavyweight. Like, Dominic Reyes is just having a good run right now. He's doing well. Even though, what happened in his last fight? I don't even remember. Watch so many fights, you start to forget things. I feel like he fought one since then. No, it was just the Krylov fight. He knocked him out. But, like, Reyes is on a roll. He's doing well. And Guskov is also doing well, but against a little bit of a different level of competition than Krylov, I would say. Like, Ryan Spann, Billy Elekana, and then Zach Palga. Like, well done. But those are, like, the lower guys of the light heavyweight division. I know Ryan Spann now is a heavyweight. Good for him. But I do think Krylov has the skills to get this done. I think he can knock out Guskov despite him being durable. Krylov has a lot of power. I think Krylov can out-grapple the hell out of this dude. He can take him down relatively easily. I think he can submit him in the first round. I think he can control him win the decision. I think he can do a lot of things on the ground and just dominate. But Krylov can be a little bit not the brightest in the fight IQ department. His defense is not great, and the chin's been cracked. Clearly, like, we know that, and we know that he can be hurt. We know that he can be knocked out, and Guskov has a lot of power. So I'm pretty confident that Krylov gets it done, but I'm also a little hesitant to lay minus 200 on it. I'm looking at the price right now. That makes me a little, you know, like, minus 135 I'm seeing for the opener. I highly doubt that was there long. If somebody tracks that, I mean, okay, but that would have been cool to hit. 200 is a bit rough, though. Let's see what the other numbers are. So Krylov decision. I don't think it's going to happen, but plus 550. Krylov sub. What's that? Plus 210. How about round one? Plus 475. I'll play around with it once we get the domestics on those props. I do lean towards Krylov sub. I think it's going to happen early, but I'll play around with the props and the prices once I get there. And as always, if you want my bets, my notes, my breakdowns, there's only one place you can get them. House of Stims. The link is in the description of this video. And if you need any help getting in there, just DM me on Twitter or anywhere, and I'll help you out. Really dope group of guys. It's me, and it's a couple other cappers for other sports. They do well. I've been doing pretty good this year, so hopefully we can keep doing that. And if you hop in, hopefully we can make you some money. So if you want my bets, that's where you can get them. And we're going to move on. Next up, we've got Almabayev versus Jose Ochoa. Almabayev, 21-3-0. He's 31 years old, 5'4" with a 65-inch reach. Ochoa on the other side, he's 8-1-0. He's 24, so he's 7 years younger. He's going to be 3 inches taller and have a 2-inch reach advantage. I do want to check the odds real quick before we get into it. So yeah, minus 105 Asu right now, minus 115 Ochoa on Bet Online. That's about where it was earlier today. So this is a tricky fight for me. I've been really high on Ochoa for a while. I faded him early when there's very little tape on him in LFA against Pantoja, not the champ of UFC, the LFA version. And he had a really good performance there, made me look stupid. And then I played him against Kavanaugh at plus 300 because I was like, this price is just wrong. Kavanaugh's really good, but so is Ochoa. And he had a pretty good showing of himself at plus 300. I don't think it was a bad bet. And then he dominated Cody. Not dominated. He did very well against Cody Durden. I had Durden there. I thought the grappling, the pace might be a little bit too much. And if I'm not mistaken, Durden was fighting at home there, but he got caught. He got caught, and Durden's been kind of having a hard time following his game plan, which I think is a problem, but that's not really an issue with Asu. Like, Asu is going to shoot, right? So the main question for me here, because this is binary, you know, you guys don't even really need me to explain a lot of this. Ochoa much bigger, much longer, younger. Obviously, that's a plus. I think his ceiling is much higher. I think we're going to see amazing things from him in the next 4 years. By 28 years old, I think we're going to have a major menace on our hands. And he's clearly the better striker, clearly much more dynamic, much smoother, much more weapons, really good kicks, knees, elbows. He mixes it all together, goes to all targets. The hands are much better. Nice straight down the pipe than Asu. Asu, a little bit wider strikes because of the short reach. He can't really go like 1-2s down the pipe. He'd have to kind of lean over to do that. So he's kind of more limited to like a jab, an overhand, something like that. So Ochoa is clearly better on the feet. It's anybody who looks can understand that. But first off, he's really hittable. So because of that, I think Asu can be competitive. I know that his striking defense numbers are good on UFC stats, but I don't buy it. Like, he's getting hit a lot. I don't think his striking defense is that good. And I think that could be a little bit of an equalizer here. And then I also think that on the ground, I don't have enough info on Ochoa to really be super confident one way or the other. Like, I can't tell you for sure that his takedown defense is, that his ground game is horrible, because he's not really on his back often. And I also can't tell you that he's going to be good because he's not on his back often. So I'm not sure, but I can work off of what I know. I've seen him taken down a couple times. His takedown defense is really good. He has good balance, good instincts, good reactions. But then you look at the Durden fight, right? And when Durden does get him down in the first round, it was like a minute 30 seconds left, maybe a little bit more, minute 45. And Durden just controlled him easily. Ochoa kind of accepted full guard and just kind of stayed there. Now, you could say it's because he got hurt first, and that's entirely possible. But I have to work with the info I have, and that's what I have, is that when he did get taken down, he accepted it and kind of played off of his back. And that also kind of fits because he's a shootbox guy. And these shootbox guys, of course, they're all different. They're different people. They're different humans, different fighters. But they train together. They're trained by the same people for the most part. And they tend to have very similar styles. And a lot of shootbox guys are more than happy to lay on their back and throw elbows or try to get submissions off their back. So I have to work with what I know or what I've seen and make assumptions, unfortunately. And my assumptions are that I think that Asu can control him. I think he can take him down. I think he can control him. And I kind of lean towards that being the case. I lean towards him being able to be competitive enough in the striking, not because he's as good of a striker. He's not. But because there's a threat of a takedown, because he'll put him on the back foot, and because Ochoa is really hittable, I think Asu can have moments on the feet. And he's a guy who I do trust to actually go for takedowns. He's not a guy that I'm worried about coming out there and just striking. And I think he's going to go for the takedowns. I think he's not necessarily going to get a lot of them, but I think he will keep going until he does get them. And once he plants Ochoa on his back, I lean towards him staying there. So as much as I love Ochoa, as high as I am on him, I think this might be a little bit too much, and I am a little bit surprised that he's a slight favorite. So I'm going with Asu decision. I haven't played anything yet. I taped this one extensively, but I want to come back to it because I need to see if maybe anything's different when I come back with a fresh mind. I talk about it all the time. You guys know sometimes there's fights where I'll tape it, and I just want to tape it again with a fresh head, because sometimes you're just not in the best mindset. Sometimes you're thinking about other things, or sometimes you're just worn out because you watch so much tape. But I am going to go Asu decision. Can Ochoa catch Asu with a knee on a takedown attempt, do you think? Yeah, for sure. He's got nice knees, nice step-in knees. His reactions are very fast, so it's possible. But I also see Asu as a guy who's pretty durable, and I know he got finished by Manel Kape, but I don't really think it's that good of a comparison fight. I think Manel Kape right now is a level or two above Ochoa, and I don't necessarily think Ochoa is going to finish Asu. But I think it's possible, the knee. But all right. Next up, we got Shara Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Shara, 15-1-0, 31 years old, 6'2", with a 73-inch reach. MAB 17-9-0. He's 35, so he's 4 years older, 1 inch shorter, and he's going to have a 1 inch reach advantage. So I like Shara to win, but I'm also not in the business of laying chalk on Shara. Certainly not minus 700 now, or minus 650. Now, do I want to play MAB? No, not really either. If he had grappling upside, sure, because he does push a pace. He does come. He's got that dog in him. He always comes with his best effort. He's always putting output out there. He's a decent enough striker. He's got an okay amount of power, but he just doesn't really wrestle. Like, he's done it occasionally, but he doesn't really do it. And on the feet, Shara is a much cleaner striker. His movement is really good. The big cage is always going to benefit him. He's the one fighting relatively at home here, and definitely has the crowd in his favor. And he's just a much cleaner striker. And because I don't see MAB as much of a grappler, I think Shara is probably going to win the decision. Maybe he can knock him out. I lean towards a decision, but maybe it could play out close because, like I said, MAB, he'll put you on his back foot, right? And Shara, he's a kicker. It's just saying this about Saeed. You take away from the space from a kicker, you can make their life a lot harder and take away their main weapons. But I think that Shara is going to kind of just circle out when MAB closes the distance. MAB, I don't really see him as the guy who cuts the cage. I don't really see him as a guy who's going to successfully catch Shara. And I think the movement of Shara will be good enough, and he's just going to pick him apart with the kicks. I wish he threw his hands more because his hands are really good. He really is like a middleweight Saeed Nurmagomedov, honestly. Like very similar the more that I think about it now as I'm talking. But when he does throw the hands, they're smooth. He's nice. I know he struggled with MVP. I was on MVP there, but that couldn't be more of a different matchup. MVP's got crazy movement, really crazy range management, and he's very hard to figure out. MAB's not really the case. So I think Shara gets it done, but I don't rate his finishing upside all that highly, so I'm going to go decision. Irish Springy agreeing with me here. Let's go, bro. MAB's only win in the last 2 years is Bruno Silva. Yeah, I mean, look, that happens. I'm not going to put that against a guy that much when he's plus, what is he, 500, 450? Like, but I do think he's going to lose. I do. Let's look at some props, though. Fight Goes is plus 185. I don't hate that. Shara decision plus 225. I don't hate that, but at that point, I'd rather play Fight Goes. Shara KO at minus 145 is a big dub. Yeah, not a ton I like, but maybe Fight Goes. Maybe. Or if a domestic gives me a much better price on the Shara decision. Or maybe like a round 3 decision. But MAB is not gassy. So like if a Shara knockout happens, it could realistically happen at any point. Damn, we're already up to the co-main. I feel like this card's a lot shorter than I expected it to be. And our YouTube count hasn't changed. We're still at 544 on Twitter, 32 on YouTube. Switch over here. Okay, we'll do the same thing I've been doing. How about that? It hasn't hit yet, but maybe this is the time. So anybody in the live chat, even if they wrote just one message, they're going to be good to go for. And I'm going to put together a lotto. Probably not on the show right now. I'm going to put together a lotto later this week. Got to think about it. But going to do one, or even if I do two, if either of them hit, whatever amount I do, if either of them hit, if you left one comment in the live chat, I'm going to include you in a little wheel. Going to spin the wheel, and whoever it lands on, I'll give them 10% of what the lotto pays. So let's say I put $25 to win 1,300. It hits. You left a comment in the chat. I put you on the wheel, spun the wheel, lands on you. You get $130. And all you have to do is switch from Twitter, go on YouTube, and leave one live comment. That's all. So we'll do that again this week, and we can hop onto this fight. So we got Petr Yan versus Marcus McGhee. Petr Yan, 18-5-0, 32 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. McGhee, he's 10-1-0. He's going to be 35, so he's 3 years older. He's going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. So if you know me, you know that I'm a pretty big Petr Yan fan. I used to be a bigger one back in the day. Fell off a little bit. Maybe I wasn't the most loyal. I guess I was just really annoyed about the Aljamain Sterling performances. But I've always loved the guy. I love his style. I love his striking. I think he's an absolute beast. And just really, really high on him in general. And he's actually the younger guy here, despite being the former champion, despite being in the UFC longer, despite having more UFC fights. He's actually the younger guy. McGhee kind of got a late start, but he's also really good. You know, McGhee's a good striker. Is he as technical of a striker as Petr Yan? No. Is he as clean of a boxer? No. Does he put it together as nicely? No. But he is a good striker, and he does have a lot of power. And Petr Yan, I think, while his defense is really good, I think he can be hurt. If I'm not mistaken, Figgy hurt him. So I think McGhee can hurt him. And would it be out of the realm of possibility that McGhee can get some grappling going? I mean, it's not super unlikely. Yan does have really good takedown defense, like really good takedown defense. So it's not going to be easy. But if McGhee's competing on the feet, landing some big shots, I think he can mix it in. But look, realistically, I think Petr Yan is levels ahead of Marcus McGhee. Much more experienced, much better striker, elite takedown defense, a good wrestler in his own right, has fought and beaten the much higher level of competition, has held gold, is fighting his way back, and only has lost to like the best dudes. Like he's only lost to the best guys in the division. So I don't think he's going to lose. But I think the price is a little much when this is one of the reasons he stresses me out is Petr Yan fights a little bit tight. Like he'll fight a little tight. He'll often lose the first round because he needs to get his reads. He's a slow starter. And I think he's a guy who's much better suited for 5 rounds than he is for 3. That's why he did so well in title fights. I think he's just way better in 5 rounds than he is 3 because he can lose the first round in a 5-rounder and be okay. But if you lose the first round in a 3-rounder, that's tricky. Now you got to win both of the upcoming rounds. You don't have any choice. So I don't love that at this price, but I do think he's quite a bit ahead of McGhee. I think it's dog or pass at the price, but I don't expect myself to get involved. It's possible, but I don't expect it. I lean towards a decision. Let's look at some props. Glenn Bot saying, I know Yan is a decision machine, but going to take a shot on Yan KO round 2, round 3. I don't hate it. Let's see what the prices are. Whoa. Okay. Plus 1,200, plus 1,500. It's pretty high. Higher than I thought. Domestics might give something even higher. That could be interesting because he builds. And once he starts to build, Petr Yan is so good. He'll rip to the body. The combinations are nasty. I love the dude striking. He's a fire striker. Let's see. What's Yan decision? Chalked up minus 150. Fight goes minus 260. Yeah, I'm not convinced I have a way to play this because of the lines, but I lean the Yan side. Dog or pass on the money line, but I don't know that I can get there. What's up, Dwell? What do you think about 350 plus 355 Danny Silva against Vallejos? Random number that caught my eye. No one seems to think it's strange that I asked. Well, I think a lot of it is, people are just super high on Vallejos because he had such a close fight against Silva, A, and B, because he's just really, really good. But, I think Vallejos is going to win. I think he can knock out Danny. I just don't really see Silva winning. So, I think the line's probably a bit wide. Definitely has a lot of recency bias, a lot of hype built into it. But it's not really an underdog I would want to target because what is he going to do? Is he going to outstrike Vallejos? I don't think so. Vallejos is a really good striker, super young, improving, hungry. He's not going to have a performance where he just stands there and stares. And is Danny going to out-grapple him, really? I don't see it. So I don't really think so, personally. And then you got him out in the 3rd round there. McGhee ITD decision, no action, plus 160. Yeah, but then you have to really think that Yan has no finishing upside, and I'm not positive that that's the case either. All right, we're up to the main event. We got Robert Whittaker versus Reinier de Ridder. Whittaker, he's going to be 26-8, and he's 34 years old, 6 feet tall with a 73.5-inch reach. RDR 22-0, he's 34 as well. He's going to be 4 inches taller, and he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. So, honestly, I think we're getting a good price on Bobby Knuckles because of their recent fights. I think we're getting a lot of recency bias here, personally. Whittaker lost to Hamza, and everybody's just like, he could be out-grappled. He could be overwhelmed. He could be taken down. RDR is going to sub him. And then RDR beats Bo Nickel as a plus 300 underdog. Plus 300 underdog or even higher, honestly. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's a big underdog against Bo Nickel. Anybody who cashed him there, really, really good play. But Bo Nickel is an amazing wrestler, but he's not a competent mixed martial artist. He's nowhere near that. I thought he was on his way, but I'm not seeing it anymore. At least not yet. He's still young. He's got time. And then Kevin Holland, okay, good for you. And then it's everybody just forgot that on the feed he was going 50-50 with GM3. Just everyone just is ignoring that fact because Whittaker gets submitted by Hamzat. RDR's on a streak. And we're just forgetting the fact that he literally went 50-50 on the feet with GM3. He's a slow, plotty striker. He's got a decent enough jab, uses the lead hand relatively well. He's an okay striker. He's got a good clinch game. We saw that in the Bo Nickel fight. He land really nice knees in the clinch. He's very strong. He's very big, very physical. And he's an elite grappler. He's a really, really good jiu-jitsu practitioner. When the fight hits the mat, he's extremely dangerous. He could submit literally anybody. So if he can get it to the mat, yeah, he probably can submit Bobby Knuckles, Whittaker. But A, I don't think he's going to have an easy time getting it to the mat. And B, I don't think he's going to submit Whittaker. I don't. I just don't. I think overall, Whittaker has really good submission defense. And just because Khamzat submitted him by literally breaking his jaw doesn't tell me that RDR is going to come out here and submit him too. I don't think that. And I think that Khamzat is a much more physical and better pure wrestler than RDR is. I don't even think that's debatable or even close to debatable. RDR has a decent enough double leg when he goes to it. But for the most part, it's a lot of trips and a lot of stuff off of the fence. And we're working with a big cage here, right? I don't know off the top. I think Nickel was a pay-per-view. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. So Nickel, that was Sandhagen versus Figgy. So no, that was not a pay-per-view. But that was a fight night. So that would be a big cage. Holland was a pay-per-view, so that's a big cage. And then GM3, that's when he was in a smaller cage. So I think he's going to struggle in a bigger cage with Whittaker. I think Whittaker's footwork is just too much for him. I think Whittaker can just stay on the outside, pop that jab. I know that he's at a reach and a height disadvantage, but that hasn't stopped him before. I think that he's going to be able to land at range. I think he's going to be able to close the distance when he has to and hop back out. He's got very good range management. He's good at getting in and out, staying safe after landing his own offense. I think he's a much, much cleaner striker. I think he's a much more competent striker. I think he's got more weapons and tools on the feet. And I think he's more likely to get a knockout out of the two of them. I think RDR is super hittable, super slow, very flat-footed, and very plotty. And I just think he's going to be too slow for Whittaker. I don't see him just rushing forward, bulldozing Whittaker. I don't see that happening. And I also favor Whittaker over 5 rounds. It's not that RDR hasn't done it. He has done 5 rounds, and he looked relatively decent. But again, the level of competition, the matchup was super different. That guy, Angla Sang, I think, Song, something like that. Like, he's okay, but he doesn't move like Whittaker. He doesn't have takedown defense like Whittaker. He's not comparable to Whittaker really at all. So RDR went 5 rounds there, sure. But is it going to hold up the same against Bobby Knuckles if he doesn't get his game going? RDR, I don't necessarily know that. So I favor Whittaker with the 5 rounds. Way more 5-round experience, fought the higher level of competition, much better wins, better striking. Movement should make it really hard for RDR to land his takedowns. And also, if you hear somebody out there comparing RDR to DDP, just move on. Move on, because I have no words. That's all I got. But yeah, I think that Whittaker is going to get it done. I think we're getting a discount, and I like him here. I do. Let's catch up with the chat, and then we'll get out of here. So let's see. Daz talking about the McGhee fight, has to only win 2 or 3. Yeah, I don't hate it. Concerned about Mitchell's weight cut. I mean, so he's going to make weight. I'm pretty confident about that after looking at his Instagram. Look at it. He's so skinny. I am worried about what it does to him a little bit, though. RDR is a really big boy. Thanks, Glenbot. Thank you for tuning in. RDR has a never-ending toolkit. His only loss has been to a current heavyweight. I don't know. I think he's pretty... Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's legit. I mean, not legit. I'm not saying that he's bad. RDR is legit. He's really good. He can do really good things in the division. I just think Whittaker wins. But Whittaker's also really good. So that doesn't make RDR bad. I think that it's a bad matchup for him against Whittaker. And that's it, guys. That's UFC Abu Dhabi. We got 630 of you guys watching live, and I appreciate every single one of you. If you're watching on Twitter, please like, comment, retweet, follow me. Any of those things really helps. If you're on YouTube, it helps even more if you comment, subscribe, like it. It always really helps. So please, please help out the channel if you like my stuff. And as always, I'm going to try to put out my shorts. Probably won't be tomorrow. This week's a really busy week for me. Most of these weeks for the next few weeks are really busy for me. My wedding in August, early August. So the next few weeks are chaotic. Don't have as much time as I usually do, but I'm going to squeeze the shorts in somewhere. Those will come out. So if you like the short form stuff, the 1-minute breakdown for each fight, I'll be posting those. And that's going to be it for me for content. I'll run through the picks one more time, and then we'll get on out of here. So we're going Buchecha, win, but dogger pass. Aslan, Ribas, Blackshear, but probably dogger pass. Leal, Mitchell, Krylov, slightly Nasu, Shara, Jan, Whittaker. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace out and good luck this weekend.